The company my wife and I had built, a well-known success story, suddenly created a research and development division too, out of thin air. Then, my wife told me to hand over my life's work to them. I refused flatly. In response, at the new product launch, she and her college flame framed me, painting me as a monster who steals the work of others. What she didn't know was that the moment she asked me to sign away my research, I'd already lost all trust in her. When the whole thing blew up in her face, Claire begged me for mercy. I gave her a choice: save herself or personally send her old boyfriend to prison for life. One of the calls went straight to voicemail. Furious, I kicked open the door to the CEO's office. But Claire wasn't there. Instead, a strange man was sitting nonchalantly in her chair, scrolling through a phone. He looked up at me, a smug, mocking glint in his eyes, like he was sizing up a loser. And the phone in his hand, the same phone my wife, Claire, had just used to demand I transfer my intellectual property, was being handled with casual intimacy. The familiar, custom phone case was like a knife twisting in my brain, clearing the fog of confusion I'd been in since the announcement. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. My wife, Claire, was obsessively private. Not even I, her husband, was allowed to touch her phone. When I questioned it, she said, "Even married couples need their personal space, Ethan. I don't go through your phone, do I?" I respected that. I trusted her. I never asked again. But now, that same sacred object was being toyed with by another man. My face was a thundercloud of rage, which only seemed to make the man smirk wider. As if reading my mind, he deliberately angled the screen toward me. It was a text thread filled with long paragraphs I'd sent, to which Claire had only offered short, one-word replies. It was our chat history. The endless stream of thoughts and ideas I'd shared with my wife now felt like a torrent of humiliation, threatening to drown what was left of my sanity. Just as I clenched my fists, ready to beat this guy to a pulp, the door to the private soot opened. Claire emerged, dressed in a designer gown, her face alight with a joy that had nothing to do with me. "Leo, what do you think of this one? Do you like Ethan? What are you doing here?" Lau. She called an outsider by a pet name, and she called her own husband Ethan. I felt a cold hollowness spread through my chest, disgusted with the flicker of hope I'd had that maybe this guy had just snuck into her office. My icy gaze swept over the flash of panic on Claire's face, then to the so-called Leo, who now looked equally flustered as he quickly put down her phone. Ignoring her question, I shot back with one of my own. "What's the matter? Am I, the CEO's husband, not supposed to be here? Or did I interrupt something?" Claire's expression hardened. "Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? Leo is the new head of R&D too. He was here to give me a progress report. Can you get your mind out of the gutter for 1 second? If you put half this energy into your work, this company would have gone public years ago." I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. I pointed a finger at the man, who was now doing his best impression of a kicked puppy. "Then you tell me," I roared. "Does reporting progress involve sitting in the CEO's chair and playing on her personal phone? Professionally, that looks a hell of a lot like corporate espionage." And personally, my voice dropped to a deadly whisper, my eyes narrowing. "Claire, have you forgotten that even I'm not allowed to look at that phone?" The pretty boy, Leo, finally seemed to realize he was still holding the evidence. He fumbled to put it back on the desk, his voice shaking as he offered a lame excuse. "Claire, I spilled a drop of water on it. I was just trying to wipe it off when Mr. Vance walked in. It was an accident." I sneered. "Oh, really? Were you drinking from thin air? There isn't a single glass on this desk. What the hell were you drinking?" Ethan, Claire, who had seemed slightly guilty a moment before, couldn't stand seeing her darling Leo look so pathetic. "Are you insane?" she snapped, cutting off my next insult. "He was just helping me. As my husband, the least you could do is say thank you, not act like some uncultured thug. He only misspoke because you scared him. And you," she said, turning to Leo. Her intention was clearly to scold them both and smooth it over, but seeing his puppy dog eyes, her tone softened instantly. "Don't do it again. That's all. Jesus Christ." She thought a simple "don't do it again" was going to fix this. Sensing this wasn't enough, she rounded on me again. "You know, a dirty mind sees everything as dirty. Have you lost even the most basic trust we're supposed to have as a couple? If you want a divorce, just say it. Stop with these constant accusations. I can't live like this anymore. This time I really laughed. Out loud. Claire looked confused. What's so funny? My smile vanished. I stared directly into her uncertain eyes, my voice chillingly calm. Claire, if I didn't have absolute trust in you, this guy would have never had the chance to be standing here. You know me, and you never would have had the chance to create your little R&D Division 2 in the first place. She froze, unable to find a single word to argue. In our 7 years of marriage, I had not only taken care of her every need, but had also poured my soul into the research, leaving the entire company for her to manage without question. As my wife and as the CEO, she knew better than anyone the depth of the trust one had placed in her. That must be why she had the gall to be so blatant, knowing full well I don't tolerate betrayal. And it's why I was only finding out now, after she'd already brought her boy toy into our company to shove in my face. I had no desire to continue the conversation. The reality was clear, and my disappointment was absolute. Don't say another word, I said, turning to leave. Get this guy out of here. Now. And dissolve that sham of a second R&D division. I'm not going to say it again. I thought that would be the end of it, that she would see my resolve and stop playing games. But the pretty boy wouldn't let it go. He grabbed Claire's arm, whining her name, Claire, in that cloyingly familiar way. Whatever hesitation, she had vanished. She squared her shoulders. No, R&D 2 is essential. I sent Leo overseas to study for years. His technical skills are just as good as yours. The company is about to go public. Without internal competition, investors will think we have limited potential. Ethan, you're a founder too. Be reasonable. If not for us, do it for the company we build together. For me. Please, can you just stop making a scene? I stopped at the door, turning my head to give her a cold, sideways glare. Claire, have I been too good to you? Are you telling me you've been involved with him for years? Or are you telling me that in this day and age, raw talent doesn't matter anymore? That we need some bullshit internal rivalry to boost our potential? By that logic, we should set up 100 R&D divisions and forget about actual innovation. Right now, just talking to you makes me sick. Claire, in my eyes, you're now nothing more than a wife in a strategic partnership. If it weren't for the company's bottom line, do you really think you'd still have the right to sit in that office as CEO? The board was filled with sharks who only care about profits. Claire's business acumen was undeniable, but there were plenty of business prodigies in the country. My talent, however, the kind that gets you headhunted by DARPA, was rare. If a divorce wouldn't cause catastrophic losses for the company right before the IPO, she'd be out on the street already. Claire stared at my retreating back in disbelief, unable to process the words strategic partnership coming from my mouth. A montage of our life together, dating, marriage, building our dream, flashed through her mind. She couldn't understand how the man who, despite his cool demeanor, had always cherished and protected her, could suddenly become such a cold-hearted stranger. Leo finally sensed the gravity of the situation. He steadied Claire, who was swaying, hit by the brutal reality. Claire, how could Ethan say that to you? This is all my fault. Maybe I should just leave. As long as you're okay, I don't care what happens to me. Claire's eyes reddened. She looked at the man she had once left behind. Leo, you're the only one who's good to me. Everyone says I only got where I am because of Ethan, but he never acknowledges how much I've sacrificed. He has no idea how much it hurts to hear that, she sobbed. His unease confirmed, Leo grew more anxious. But what if he really does it? What if he kicks you out of the company? No, I have to go talk to him. Explain everything. He can do whatever he wants to me, but I can't let you get hurt. Claire quickly grabbed Leo as he made a show of going after me. Her expression turned to ice. Don't go to him. Trust me. In a few days, everything he relies on will be gone. He'll be the one getting thrown out. Hearing this, Leo finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lost in her own thoughts, Claire didn't see the sinister glint that flashed in his eyes. Back in the lab, one question kept circling in my mind. Has Claire lost her mind? Would a sharp, successful executive really be stupid enough to openly antagonize me, the company's main artery? Or had her 7 years at the helm given her the confidence to make a clean break? A jolt of alarm went through me. I pulled out my phone, found a number my father had left me before he died, and dialed. I was supposed to be the heir to the Vance family fortune back in Ohio, but after a series of bad investments, the empire collapsed. Before my parents jumped from that bridge, they left me with not only a mountain of debt, but also a network of very discreet, very effective contacts. That network was one of the main reasons I was drawn to Claire's business savvy in the first place, and why our company had grown from nothing into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, even with my debt hanging over us. I'd already lost love. I couldn't afford to lose my money too. With a valuation in the billions before the IPO, we were looking at a market cap of over $100 billion afterward. I had to be prepared. Half an hour later, I was staring at a dossier, scoffing at my own naivety. Claire came from a modest background. Leo was her childhood sweetheart. They had planned to get married right after college. But reality hit hard. Claire was a top student and got into MIT. Leo only made it into a state school. After 2 years of a long-distance relationship, Claire started dating me, already a rising star in the tech world. So, she had betrayed Leo first, and now she was betraying me to get back with him? My mind replayed scenes from our past. Had she ever loved me at all? I thought of my parents, who had died together. I thought of the foolish young man I used to be, who once believed in that kind of epic love. Has that kind of ride-or-die loyalty become a thing of the past? Claire, I muttered to the empty room. You want to rekindle an old flame, do you? Let's see who you choose when you have to make a real choice again. Yourself or Leo? I flipped through the file. It detailed Claire's recent payments to a PR firm specializing in online smear campaigns. My heart was a block of ice. I felt nothing. But when I got to the part about Leo being secretly married for 7 years to a woman he supposedly adored, my eye twitched. To make sure my plan was airtight, I had one of my contacts discreetly leak Leo's location in Austin to his wife. The response was unexpected. Nothing. She didn't care. Now, that was interesting. A pointless 7-year secret marriage? What was Leo's endgame? Whatever. I just crushed them both when the time came. It didn't matter what his plan was. For the next few days, I locked myself in the lab, putting the finishing touches on the new product. My assistant, Megan Ross, had been assigned to me by Claire a year ago. Her job was to document my experiments and handle procurement for lab materials. A year ago was also when I'd started developing the cutting-edge product that would pave the way for our IPO. With my level of talent, the product I'd spent a year creating was, without exaggeration, at least 2 decades ahead of anything else on the market. Once launched, it wouldn't just cement my status as an industry titan. It would cause the company's stock to explode. We were conservatively looking at a valuation in the tens of billions on day one. But clearly, that wasn't what Claire wanted. It wasn't that she didn't want the money. She just didn't want me, Ethan Vance, to be the man standing beside her at the top. Mr. Vance, Claire wants to know if the new product will be ready for the launch event the day after tomorrow, Megan asked. I looked up, a faint, knowing smile on my face as I watched her try to maintain her composure. I didn't answer her question directly. Megan, you seem a little on edge lately. Everything okay? A flicker of panic crossed her face before she quickly covered it up. Not at all, Mr. Vance. I'm just excited for you. After a year of hard work, your new product is finally about to be unveiled. Is that so? I said, feigning ignorance. Well, you've been a huge help, Megan. You deserve a lot of credit for this launch. Go tell Claire that yes, it will definitely be ready for the presentation. Oh, and one more thing. I called out as she was leaving, putting on an irritated tone. That pretty boy, Leo, hasn't been around, has he? I can't believe Claire wanted to give him my research. What a joke. I mean, the guy went to Texas State. He probably can't even read a basic schematic. Megan's expression was awkward. You're exaggerating, Mr. Vance. Leo is just a pretty face. He's nothing compared to you. I sighed dramatically. I know, right? You're the one who's been here all year, meticulously compiling all my research logs. The only way he could steal my work is if he managed to bribe you. Her secret was out. Megan flinched, her face paling. She mumbled an excuse and hurried out of the lab. I watched her retreating figure, a cold smile on my face, and silently removed the contact lenses from my eyes. They were my new product, the world's first fully integrated AI-powered augmented reality contact lenses. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the Apex Innovations' new product launch. As one of the country's most watched tech unicorns and a famous husband and wife-led company, the event drew everyone. Industry rivals, tech journalists, venture capitalists, and even government officials. Everyone knew this product was the linchpin for their IPO. After years of impressive but incremental releases, this one was expected to be revolutionary. At the same time, a series of posts from a so-called company insider started trending online. Shocking. Apex Innovations founder Ethan Vance, a fraud, routinely steals and buries employees' work. Bombshell. CEO Claire Sterling has suffered under her abusive husband for 7 years. Revealed. The true genius whose work was stolen is. I had to laugh. Seriously, if you're going to hire an online mob, at least get a professional. Couldn't they even vary the headline format? It was so obviously a coordinated attack. Even if people didn't suspect the cheating couple, they'd assume it was a smear campaign from a competitor. The only goal was to stir up controversy and get the story trending. It seemed Claire didn't just want to ruin my reputation in the industry. She wanted to erase me completely. Makes sense. Once you decide to burn a bridge, you burn it to the ground. She wouldn't be able to sleep at night otherwise. The person who knows you best is often your enemy. Unfortunately for me, my enemy was the woman I once loved. We're here, Mr. Vance. The driver had barely pulled up before a swarm of reporters, smelling blood in the water, descended on the car. My assistant, Megan, looked visibly nervous. I chuckled. Don't worry. Just do what you're supposed to do. You won't get another chance after today. She missed the double meaning in my voice. Of course, she was probably thinking, after today, Ethan Vance will be a disgrace, and I'll be far above his station. As expected, the reporters didn't ask a single question about the new product. It was all about the trending hashtags. I caught a glimpse of Leo Kane waiting by the hotel entrance, a smug look on his face, enjoying the show. I smirked, and instead of pushing past the reporters, I stopped. I scanned the crowd. Their faces were a mix of emotions: excitement, glee, anxiety, anticipation. Megan, for her part, was playing the role of the dutiful assistant, trying to push the reporters back with the help of security. I told her to go inside and help with the setup, then I cleared my throat. It's fascinating, really. I began, my voice carrying over the din. You're all here because of some nobody from state school, ready to question a PhD from MIT. What? You think your judgment is better than DARPA's? More than half the reporters looked ashamed. My recruitment by DARPA as an undergrad had been public knowledge. Back then, I was buried in books and research, trying to restore my family's name and pay off an astronomical debt. I was making headlines. Leo, meanwhile, was just another anonymous sophomore. Suddenly, one reporter pushed forward. Mr. Vance, your wife, Claire Sterling, is also a brilliant mind with a doctorate. Apex Innovations was co-founded by both of you, yet you've allowed the narrative that she rode your coattails to flourish. Is it true that to men like you, even a woman of her intellect is nothing more than a tool for fame and fortune? What's your response to that? My expression didn't change. I looked directly at the female reporter, who met my gaze with a defiant, self-righteous glare. Please answer the question, she demanded. I let out a short, sharp laugh. As a journalist, you have a funny relationship with the facts. Is Apex known as a husband and wife powerhouse, or as one person carrying the other? You seem willing to risk your entire career on a lie. I was looking for the source of these rumors. Thanks for turning yourself in. The reporter froze. She knew the public perception, of course, but she was being paid to paint me as an enemy of female empowerment. She opened her mouth to argue, but a crisp, female AI voice suddenly echoed around us, seemingly from nowhere. Visual evidence acquired and transmitted to Austin PD. Officers have been dispatched and are en route. I grinned, staring at the now pale reporter. Tell me, I said conversationally, when the police investigate the source of these libelous claims, what do you think they'll find? Say a digital money trail? She completely panicked, stumbling on her feet. Slander on its own could be argued away, but with bank records, it was an open and shut case. Deleting them wouldn't help. The police cybercrimes unit was not incompetent. The other reporters, however, lit up. They finally remembered why they were really here. A flurry of questions erupted. Was that the new product? Where was it? I made a sweeping gesture toward the entrance. Ladies and gentlemen, for the full story, please join me inside at the press conference. It's hot out here, and if I have to give you the whole presentation now, I'll have to buy you all drinks. Haha, a man of your stature is worried about a bar tab? someone shouted. Of course, I shot back. You think I'd serve you the cheap stuff? The conference hall was packed. Claire stood near the stage, her expression cool and composed, doing final checks. Her eyes kept darting toward the entrance, searching for a sign of my panic. When she saw me walk in, as confident and unfazed as ever, her own confidence faltered for a split second before she masked it, stepping down from the stage to play the part of the supportive wife. 5. Welcome, everyone, to the latest product launch from Apex Innovations. Apex, the pinnacle of innovation. I'm Claire Sterling, CEO of Apex. And now, to not keep you in suspense any longer, I'll hand it over to my husband, the General Manager and Head of Research and Development for Apex Innovations, Ethan Vance, who will personally introduce our revolutionary new product, the AI-powered augmented reality contact lens. All eyes turned to me. I was just about to stand up from my front row seat when the doors to the conference hall burst open. Wait! The entire room turned toward the commotion. My eyes, however, went straight to Claire on the stage. She was looking right back at me. Her expression was a complex mix of coldness, resolve, and a strange sort of pity. She acted as if she had nothing to do with it. She didn't stop him, nor did she support him. She simply walked off the stage, not to the empty seat beside me, but to a shadowy corner of the room where her face was hidden from view. Leo Kane, his clothes artfully torn, looking like a victim from a tragic play, pointed a trembling finger at me from across the room and screamed, "Ethan Vance, you're a thief." His voice cracked, as if on the verge of a complete breakdown. Why would you do this to me? Wasn't it enough to steal the woman I love? You had to steal my work my entire life too? The room erupted. All heads swiveled back to me, the monster from Leo's tale. But it was clear few people believed him. My track record was too strong. I just sat there, arms crossed, watching the show like a spectator. Leo seemed thrown off by my calm demeanor. He had expected me to unravel. He prepared to continue his performance. But someone near him spoke up in disgust. Who the hell are you? You think you can just slander Ethan Vance? The man was recruited by DARPA as a sophomore. Who are you? Get out of here and stop wasting our time. Yeah, if you want your 15 minutes of fame, go somewhere else. The nerve of some people, another added. The city official in the front row frowned and leaned over to me. Ethan, what's going on? How did someone like this get into a secure event? I smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, Mayor. Normally, he wouldn't. But we seem to have a traitor on the inside. This company, a potential $100 billion enterprise, was a major jewel in the city's crown. Taking me down would be a disaster for them. And even if I did nothing, that couple's future was already looking bleak. Leo argued back, his talking points clearly fed to him by my dear wife, Claire. You're all in on it together. The real innovators are being silenced by people like you. You're parasites on society. He dramatically pulled a flash drive from his pocket, holding it up for the reporter's cameras. This contains all of my research from the past year. Every single step, from the initial concept to the final execution, is documented right here. For a year, Ethan Vance forced me to work day and night, while our CEO, Claire Sterling, worked herself to the bone to prepare for the IPO. And him, the so-called tech prodigy, he spent his days in the lab, flirting with women and doing nothing. All he had to do was wait for me to finish, then stand up and claim he worked so hard for a year, and you'd all believe him. Is there any justice in the world? Is there any law? Are true geniuses like me doomed to be ghostwriters for the rich and powerful, never to see the light of day? Leo held the flash drive high, his voice filled with righteous fury. He was so convincing that many in the audience began to waver, their eyes darting between me and the shadowy corner where Claire was watching me intently. The room fell silent, waiting for my defense. Instead, I chuckled softly and turned toward the shadows. My dear wife, someone is slandering your husband. Don't you have anything to say? Claire couldn't understand my composure. Hadn't he heard Leo? The flash drive contained a full year of research logs. The lab's security footage had been deleted. Why was he so calm? To Leo's surprise, Claire didn't follow their plan and point the finger at me. Instead, she walked back to the podium and took the microphone. My apologies, everyone. As you all know, my husband and I have our own distinct roles at Apex. We don't interfere with each other's work. I handle the business side. He handles the research. We both work incredibly hard. It's not as dramatic as our former colleague, Mr. Kane, is making it out to be. A reporter immediately jumped on her words. Ms. Sterling, you said you don't interfere. Does that mean you're not aware of what goes on in the lab? Claire looked appropriately flustered. I'm sorry, but trust is the most important thing in a marriage. I trust my husband. His brilliance is what drew me to him in the first place. The room buzzed again. Claire's words were a masterclass in plausible deniability. She was essentially saying she had no idea what happened in the lab, leaving open the possibility that I did steal the research. Journalists, always chasing the juiciest story, knew which way the wind was blowing. A reporter turned to me hesitantly. Mr. Vance? I motioned for security to bring Leo to the stage while I remained in the audience. He showed no signs of panic, his face a mask of confidence. Clearly, this was their plan B. Claire frowned, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. She was about to call me up to the stage, but I spoke into a handheld mic from where I stood, smiling at the two of them. Childhood sweethearts, a love for the ages. It's a real shame when someone betrays a love like that. They deserve to suffer, don't you think? The audience was baffled by my strange comment. Only Claire and Leo's faces changed slightly, but they recovered quickly. It seemed Claire had anticipated this move as well. Ethan, what are you waiting for? Let's not waste everyone's time. People in the audience were pulling out their phones, the trending headlines still at the top of their feeds. A brilliant wife oppressed by her husband, a genius betrayed by his mentor. The story was writing itself in their minds. I walked onto the stage. Seeing Leo's still indignant expression, I found it amusing. There's an old saying, I began. The burden of proof lies with the accuser. You think you can ruin my name with nothing but your words? If everyone did that, I'd spend my entire life running around trying to prove I'm not a monster. Leo held up the flash drive triumphantly. I have the research logs. You don't. I scoffed. And how do I know an insider didn't steal them and give them to you? Leo looked as if he'd been waiting for me to say exactly that. The next second, the conference hall doors opened again. A woman's voice rang out. I can prove that Leo Kane wrote those research logs. 6. It was Megan Ross, wearing the same mask of righteous indignation as Leo. She walked to his side, turned to the audience, and held up her phone. Many of you probably recognize me, she declared. That's right. I'm Megan Ross, the on-paper assistant to the great tech prodigy, Ethan Vance. But in reality, I was the assistant to the man standing beside me, Leo Kane. For a year, I've watched a true talent be ignored. Because of Mr. Vance, countless geniuses have been silenced. Most of them come from nothing, no money, no connections. Faced with his threats, they had no choice but to give up. The room was in an uproar once more. Megan had been my public-facing assistant for a year. Her identity was verifiable. Could it be true? Was the tech prodigy Ethan Vance really a fraud who preyed on unsung geniuses? A rival CEO in the audience sneered. And to think I've been competing with a fraud like that for almost a decade. It's humiliating. You think you're qualified to compete with me? I shot back, not missing a beat. Between the two of us, who's the real humiliation? Out of all our competitors here, are you even the top 50? No one expected me to have the nerve to bite back at a time like this. The people who had been about to pile on clamped their mouths shut, deciding to wait and see. My dominance in the industry over the last few years had been too absolute. With so many reporters present, speaking out of turn before the facts were settled could lead to serious embarrassment. Mr. Vance, Megan cried out, her voice filled with theatrical grief. Are you going to keep denying it? Don't you feel any shame? The brilliant minds you've suppressed are this country's future. They already had it hard enough coming from poor backgrounds, and you had to stop. I interrupted, cleaning my ear with my pinky. You think they had it harder than me? As everyone knows, my parents were forced into bankruptcy and suicide, leaving me with billions in debt. I'll ask you, who in this country has had it worse than me? Megan was stunned into silence. Claire's face, however, changed dramatically. She frantically tried to signal Megan, but she didn't see it. Don't be ridiculous, Mr. Vance. You come from the Vance dynasty in Ohio. How could you possibly have billions in debt? The audience grew suspicious again. I had made my name as a sophomore in college. If I had been carrying that kind of debt, I would have been crushed by it. Many of the informed guests looked toward the mayor in the front row. He had been the district administrator where my family lived when everything fell apart. He had been the one to co-sign on my restructured loans. And with the help of my father's contacts, I had managed to avoid dropping out of MIT to work off the debt. But because I'd become successful so quickly, very few people knew the full story. Rumors had even spread that the Vance family fortune was never truly gone, which was how Apex Innovations had grown so fast. Not only did Megan not know, but it seemed even Claire, the mastermind of this whole charade, had only vaguely remembered. The crisis had been dealt with so swiftly. The Vance family went under in the spring of my freshman year, and by the end of my sophomore fall semester, the debt was manageable. I met Claire the following spring. Realizing her mistake, Megan looked to Claire for help. From a corner out of the audience's view, Claire quickly tapped her own phone. Megan understood immediately. She raised her phone again and said, "A corner giant is still a giant. Who knows what hidden assets your family left you?" In any case, the evidence I have proves that the product being launched today and the research logs on this drive belong to Leo Kane. Leo chimed in on cue. "That's right. Megan was with me every day. She was there when I was running my experiments. No one is a better witness than her." Claire feigned anxiety. "Ethan, what is going on?" "Did you really?" She gave Megan another look. Before I could speak, Megan opened a file on her phone, which was already connected to the room's main display. A video of Leo supposedly writing the research logs began to play. But in the next second, the audio that came from the speakers made Claire, Leo, and Megan's faces turn ashen. "Megan, you seem a little on edge lately. Everything okay?" "Not at all, Mr. Vance. I'm just excited for you. After a year of hard work, your new product is finally about to be unveiled. That pretty boy Leo hasn't been around, has he?" I can't believe Claire wanted to give him my research. What a joke. I mean, the guy went to Texas State. He probably can't even read a basic schematic. "You're exaggerating, Mr. Vance. Leo is just a pretty face. He's nothing compared to you." "I know, right? You're the one who's been here all year, meticulously compiling all my research logs. The only way he could steal my work is if he managed to bribe you." The video was a recording of my conversation with Megan in the lab a few days earlier. The reporters in the audience scrambled, their cameras flashing. This was it, the smoking gun. It was a clear-cut case of conspiracy and slander. "Turn it off," Leo screamed, kicking Megan to the ground. "Turn that goddamn thing off. It's fake," he shrieked. "It's all fake. Ethan Vance faked the video. I'm not a pretty boy. I'm the real inventor." Seeing the looks of disgust on everyone's faces, Leo pointed a shaking finger at me. "It was you. It had to be you. You knew all along, didn't you? Why didn't you say something sooner? You and Claire were married for 7 years. How could you be so cruel? Did you have to destroy her in public to be satisfied?" Claire was also staring at me. But unlike Leo, she wasn't hysterical. She rounded on him. "Shut your mouth. This was a scheme between you and Megan. What does this have to do with me? My husband and I are a model couple in this industry. I stood by him this whole time. Don't you dare try to ruin our relationship." Despite her words, her eyes pleaded with me. She was smart. She knew from the video's perspective where the camera had to be. And for the big product launch, Claire was, of course, also wearing a pair of the new augmented reality contact lenses. That meant that I likely knew everything she and Megan had discussed after arriving at the hotel. Her life, from the moment she put those lenses in, was in my hands. She had every reason to be terrified. "Ethan, I was wrong. For the sake of our marriage, please, forgive me just this once," she begged, her voice now soft and desperate. This was probably the most sincere she had ever sounded. Leo, astonishingly, also looked at me with a sliver of hope, begging for his own life. "Mr. Vance, it was my fault. I was blinded by greed. Claire had nothing to do with this. It was all Megan. This bitch put me up to it. I'll confess to everything." The fool was probably still dreaming that if he saved Claire, she would get him out later. As for Megan, her hysterical accusations were ignored. A moment later, police officers, who had been waiting outside, came in and took her away. When Claire saw the police and saw the disgraced female reporter from earlier being led away with them, her face fell. Things were even worse than she had imagined. It wasn't a possibility anymore. I had cold, hard evidence that she had paid off the press. "Don't panic," I said, putting down the microphone. My voice was low, audible only to Claire and Leo. I'll give you a choice. Either you sign the divorce papers and walk away with nothing, or you personally send this pretty boy to prison. And I mean for a long, long time. You know my connections with DARPA. I could have him labeled a foreign agent. A matter of national security. Leo's face went white. No, please no. Mr. Vance, I was wrong. I swear I was wrong. Please, I'm begging you, let me go. I don't want to die. I don't want life in prison. Even 15 or 20 years will ruin me. Please. Claire stared at me, horrified. Do you really want to divorce me? Leo, on the verge of a total collapse, grabbed at Claire's dress, trying to get her to plead for him. But Claire, looking utterly heartbroken, violently shook him off. Leo, I'm sorry. I love my husband. Of course. Claire only ever loved herself. A person like that deserves a fate worse than death. Leo was completely crushed. He stopped begging and scrambled to his feet, his eyes filled with a dead, hollow look as he stared at me and Claire. I took a step back, a slow, cruel smile spreading across my face. Leo, did you forget about your wife back home? Secretly married for 7 years. All for today, wasn't it? Like I said, people who betray true love deserve to suffer. Claire looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She froze. What wife? Leo, you're married? Leo let out a hollow, rattling laugh. That's right. People who betray true love deserve to suffer. But I never betrayed my wife. I love her. This is all your fault. His demeanor shifted in an instant. He pulled a small fruit knife from his pocket. If you had just answered my calls back then, if you had just lent me the money, my father wouldn't have died in agony on a hospital bed because he couldn't afford treatment. My mother wouldn't have died of grief right after him. By then, your company with this bastard was already taking off. A few $100,000 would have been nothing to you. It was you, Leo screamed, his voice raw with years of hatred. You were so afraid of this asshole finding out about us that you refused to take my calls, and you killed my parents. We were the ones who promised to spend our lives together. You promised you'd marry me after graduation. My plan was to wait for you to destroy this bastard. Then I was going to destroy you and take everything. Too bad. It all fell apart. But it doesn't matter. We can all die together. Claire didn't have time to run. Leo lunged, plunging the knife straight into her heart. The moment he moved toward her, I was already sprinting in the other direction. 7 after the press conference, the company went public as planned. Riding the wave of technology that was 2 decades ahead of its time, Apex Innovation's market cap soared to over $100 billion. I became the chairman of a megacorporation. Megan Ross was sentenced to 10 years. The reporter got 3. Leo Kane, for his numerous crimes, received the death penalty with no chance of appeal. I had Claire's ashes thrown into a pigsty on a farm in the countryside. I bought a few dozen sows to live there, to trample her remains into the mud and filth for eternity. As for me, I went back to my research. At 40, I married a colleague I had worked with for years. We had a son and a daughter. They were adorable.